If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
Hey, everybody. We are back as promised on our nightly podcast, whatever we want to call this. I'm John Wheaton, your host tonight. And as I said, Sunday, I'm going to be taking over hosting on both Sunday nights and Tuesday nights. I don't think my panel got the memo because they probably wouldn't have showed up if they didn't know I was hosting, especially not Mike, but you know, still can't hear you, buddy. He is having some issues with audio, so we'll let him get those figured out. But how you doing, Mike? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Good. The Mad Bomber returns. He is not blown himself up yet, or at least not bad enough to not show up for the show. So
can't believe you don't have a backup for that thing on your head.
What do you do? What do you do?
Mr. Backup to backups.
Anyways,
this is great. I get to talk shit to him when he can't talk back.
Yeah, well, I learned this in Vegas. Do not screw Mike over because his revenge is deep and it cuts very, very hard. But anyways, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And we also have our resident intelligence officer, Mr. S2, in the house with us tonight for an important subject. And we've got some really interesting things coming up that he's going to. Oh, hello. He is going to be reporting on that has to do with our subject tonight. How are you doing today, bro?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good. Well, real quick, before we get started, I wanted everybody to know that we are full blown into our development of the insiders for Survival Dispatch. We have a lot of new things coming your way. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but there's going to be some extra content, possibly on a daily basis for all of the insiders. Hey, there he is. There he is. We can hear you. Cool. So there's going to be some extra content available to all of the insiders coming up very, very soon, and some of it may be on a daily basis. So it makes it all the more important that you guys go over to patreon.com/survival dispatch and sign up. You can either do a $9.99 a month, or you can do a $95 for the entire year. We can hear you, Mike. We can hear you. So, and what that also gives you, some of the benefits that it gives you is it gives you the daily sit rep, which is a document that we put together every day. And believe me, if you guys knew the amount of time that goes into making these, my hat's off to Christopher, who has been doing this, and I've been basically giving him some extra content for these sit reps, but they are very in depth and very thorough when it comes to it. And all of the links, videos, everything that we show in the show, you will actually see on the sit rep, and that typically goes out around noon Eastern time, between noon and 1 Eastern time. And you guys get access to all of that. Plus, you also get our survival guide, 228-page survival guide that will help you get out of any situation that is a survival situation. Very thorough survival manual. So head over to patreon.com/survival dispatch and sign up today, so you can be ahead of the game when all of the extra content starts rolling out. With that,
you know, if you guys just looked in the insiders chat, there's all your content right there.
Absolutely. So much of the content that ends up going into the sit rep comes out of the insider chat. And I actually failed to mention that. You get access to our Signal chat, and hopefully we don't have any media people in there. Sorry, bad joke. But anyways, and apparently a fake joke too. But you get access to that, and there are hundreds of people in that chat dropping information, intel, some fun stuff, and just getting to know each other a lot better And it's a great way for you guys to get involved, get plugged in, and get the inside scoop, even on the stuff that doesn't make it into the show. We only have typically about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do this, so some stuff has to get cut. So, and that doesn't mean it's not important. It's just at some point we have to cut it off. So, moving on. Did we lose Mike? He's still in the.
Is he in the champagne room?
He's in the green room. So I'll let him figure out what's going on. And real quick, we're going to get to our main topic tonight, and I'm going to go through a couple of things here, just to give you guys a little bit of information. And let me make sure I've got all of my stuff pulled up here.
I think you got to let him in.
Oh, do I? Okay. There he is. Okay. Can you hear us now?
Hear me now?
Yes, we could actually hear you. I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, so we could hear you a little while ago. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties, but we'll get through it.
New technology.
Yes. Let me get this pulled up. I got a little bit. So
yes, I have returned.
The return of the Mad Bummer. Yes, and yeah, we've got a couple of things I got to talk to you off the record about some training stuff. I think you've been filled in on some of it in the past, but that's a discussion for outside of the show. Anyways, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight, and this is a really important topic because it is a shift that we are seeing, and I think a lot of us has felt this shift happening, but there's a lot of data to support this in what's going on. So, without further ado, so according to recent data, we are talking, and we're talking verifiable empirical data, no feelings-based fortune cookies. The Democratic Party, spoiler alert, is at record low approval rating. And this it's like sub 30% right now. And that's that's like lower than a gas station Susie or the last season of The View. So, but let me show you this real quick. An article. So one of the things that is going on is that people are tired of the Democratic machine and what is going on in that realm. And this has to do with.
I think that's the wrong article. I think that's
the
wrong article.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is hard to find good help these days, isn't it?
It really is. I lost all of these things that were opened up, and I grabbed the wrong one. Here we go. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I need a producer. So, CNN poll. Now, this is CNN. Democratic Party favorability drops to record low, and it is at an extremely low 27%, according to this new CNN poll. That is time to sound the alarm. So why when your entire platform revolves around virtue signaling, government overreach, and pretending men can get pregnant? I wonder what
Jasmine Crockett keeps talking.
Oh, yes, exactly. And this is also things like, and I'll pull this up now, things like non-citizen voting. This is a problem. This is where they lost the script. And because of all of this, this is affecting people moving out of blue states into red states. And we'll get to a little bit more of the data on this shortly. But really, overall in the entire country, only one blue state, and this is from Newsweek, among the top 10 places where Americans are moving, is in the top 10 places where Americans are moving. So the shift is happening from blue to red. And this is a massive shift. If you guys know how the census works, every 10 years, there is a census that is taken to figure out the population. of each state. And that is how the electoral map is formed and when it comes to the electoral college. So if your population goes up, you get more electoral votes. It is distributed. There's 538 electoral votes. They are distributed in a specific way across the states according to each state's population. So that's why you see larger states like Wyoming with a very little population have only 3 or 4 electoral votes. But you see a state like New York, which is kind of a medium-sized state, being the 4th in the country. So this is a problem for the Democrats. And what we are seeing is not that a bunch of Democrats are moving into red states and shifting the electorate. Kind of the opposite is actually happening, where the red states are becoming redder and the blue states are becoming bluer. And my theory, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys, is that Democrats actually don't see a problem. The diehard Democrats don't see a problem with their own policies. They think it's good. They think this is fine. It has to get to very drastic levels. I think even more drastic than it has been for the Democrats to want to move out of the state. However, people like us, like myself, who lives in the southern tip of a very blue state, is tired of them overreaching when it comes to gun laws, homeschooling, taxes. We're going to be the highest tax state starting in 2026, according to some data that just came out. So we're getting tired of it. And people like myself are just like, okay, well, I'm just going to move to Kentucky. I'm going to move to Missouri. I'm going to move to any of the states in any direction of my state to get away from this insanity. And I have a bunch of liberal friends that I work with that are like, they don't see any problem with it. And it's mind blowing to me. But that's essentially what we're looking at as far as the overall landscape of what's going on and why we're going to talk about this, because there's a lot of speculation that if these trend lines continue, it's going to be really, really hard for Democrats to win national elections. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper here in a minute. But I wanted to turn this over. And S2, I'll let you take the floor, and then we'll go to Mike and just kind of put your overall view into what we're seeing as far as these trend lines and the movement of the electorate into more favorable for Republicans.
So back in 2022, I believe it was, and even back in 2020, we saw a lot of talk going on in the Intel chatter rooms where they were basically the Democrats were saying that they were sending their people to these states. And the thing of it is that people when you go to a state, as long as you've been there within 30 days, you can register to vote, and then you can go right back to where the hell you came from. So we saw that going on, and we called that out. So I don't underestimate the Democrats and they've been trying to gerrymander districts all over the country in one way, shape, or form. And then they accuse the Republicans of gerrymandering. And it's really they're the ones that are doing it by sending people into the states at least 6 months before the elections. And they're getting funded to do this. And we all know where that funding's been coming from. So I don't underestimate them. They're going to find ways to cheat no matter what we do. But here's the thing. The census is not really, while it does dictate the districts and the amount of electoral votes and things like that, what's more important is some things that I had some dots put together today. Do you want me to hold this till later? You want me to talk about this now?
You can go ahead and talk about it now. Yeah, just
it's
really
pertinent.
quick, brief overview. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is very pertinent.
Okay, so remember when I was saying that Edison was CIA? Well, it turns out that the Army 305th mapped Edison and Dominion's public networks. And there was a map that was produced of that I was given a copy of way back when. And I went through that and I was like, yep, okay, that's kind of what I thought already, because I already had Sidney Powell's Kraken that she was going to release. And it was a 200 plus page document that I read every page of it. And it basically outlined what was done, who was doing it, and the whole thing really originated from Venezuela. So this is really hard to go through all of this as I'm sitting here looking at this, but things are starting to make sense now. I kept wondering to myself, why was it Trump put Ratliff as the director of CIA instead of DNI? Because he was DNI back in 2020. So why wouldn't you put somebody back into that position? Well, it turns out that John Ratliff wrote a report or released a report January 7th of 2021 that stated CIA management suppressed China's involvement in the interference of the 2020 election. So Trump basically stuck Ratliff right in the rattlesnake's nest on purpose, I believe, for this reason. There was a report also by the Office of Inspector General that was suppressed that basically talks about January 6th and the FBI using confidential human sources. And it's all laid out, but it was really heavily suppressed. So I've been friends with Jeff O'Donnell for about 5 years now. He's one of our other hosts now. And he and I have been working on this since day one, and along with a bunch of other folks. And I'm thinking that one of the reasons why Kash Patel has been so silent in his first days here is he's getting ready to drop a Moab, is what he's doing. And he's been telling you that he's going to do it. And I think the first one he's going to drop is going to be about the 2020 election. So basically what it amounts to is we've got a bunch of fairly high profile drug busts going on right now where they're confiscating large amounts of narcotics. We moved the destroyer into the Gulf of America. It was an Arleigh class Burke, or I can't even say
Arleigh Burke class. Yep.
Yeah, Arleigh class Burke class destroyer into the Gulf of America. I see those two things as signals and to stop the flow of drugs coming through the Gulf from China. Either that or the precursors, because they're just shipping precursors now. But basically what it amounts to is the Cartel del Sol moves about 20 to 40 metric tons of drugs from Venezuela per year into the United States. And based on things that I've listened to Mike Benz say and how the CIA's involvement in the drug trade along with the military industrial complex, I believe that the CIA gets their cut of this too. So, yeah. And it makes sense.
It's called the blob.
Yeah. Well, the Mexican cartels, everybody thinks that all of the drug stuff originates from them. It doesn't. The Mexican cartels are just the border middlemen. That's all they are.
Yep.
They take delivery from Colombia, Venezuela, wherever they can get their stuff from, and they're just the drug dealer standing on the corner saying, "Hey, Johnny, you want some drugs?" Well, here's another piece of this. Cartel del Sol not only works with TDA, they are their bosses. The head of Cartel del Sol's sister is the VP of Venezuela, and Maduro is their puppet. So everybody was asking me well, what about the WEF and all of this other stuff? And what's little known is that from my vantage point, looking at the whole landscape, the main reason their plan had to kick off in 2020 was there was a law on the books from long ago that prevented Republican poll watchers to observe the counting in the polls. Did you know that?
Yep.
Okay. So the Dems have been renewing this law every election cycle, and the original judge kept renewing it. Well, that judge died. And subsequently, the new judge that the Dems went to did not renew it. And that new judge, coincidentally, was an Obama appointed judge. The Dems went into panic mode, and boom, off went the cheating bomb. So they got in a panic. They had to put together a plan so that they could cheat. All of this garbage that we're seeing, the economic terrorism that's going on with the WEF and all these other groups, would not have been possible had the 2020 election not been stolen. And I'm not afraid to say this. I know we're probably going to get smacked on YouTube or someplace else, but that's what I think about it. And we all know that. So there was Sequoia Capital that bought, or actually they were bought by Dominion. So there's three major companies in the United States that manufacture voting machines. That's ES&S, that's Hart Systems, and Dominion. So Dominion was owned by the Venezuelans. It was originally something else, but they were Dominion Systems. Yep. So they bought out.
Chavez used to win all those elections.
Yeah. Well, the smoking gun that China was involved is that Staple Street was involved in this too. And they injected $400 million into Staple Street. I think it was about a week or so, maybe a month before the election occurred. And Staple Street had a large stake in Dominion voting systems. So why all of this matters is because I don't underestimate the Democrats and their willingness to cheat in things. And the reason that the election wasn't stolen in 2024 again is because we had that map of IP addresses. We knew where they were going to go. And the other piece that's been found out now has been something that may be common knowledge, maybe not, is that our election data is sitting on a server, on a Huawei server in China.
Well, that's good. Let's just outsource everything, including our election security. It's just
what could
insane.
possibly go wrong?
Right.
Well,
right.
even deeper than that, here was the thing: CISA. Everybody's heard that name. So who ran CISA? That was Chris Krebs, right? So I knew about this because I have copies of these contracts. CISA had contracted the maintenance of voting equipment out to third-party contractors. They had a remote access and remote control clause in every single one of these contracts. I've got at least 3 of them. I put a call out to my entire network across the United States back then, asking for those copies of those contracts. Nobody knew where to find them. They would call their companies or call their election boards. Their election boards didn't know anything about it. But every single state in the United States was using a third-party contractor for the maintenance of their machines. And that remote control and remote access clause in there gave them the ability to hand over to control to whoever wanted to access them.
Wow. Well, that's somewhat of a bombshell, or a nuclear bombshell.
Oh yeah.
All of the tentacles. It's like in the Marvel movies. It's Hydra. Tentacles everywhere, and if you cut off one head, 2 will take its place. Mike, as a returning guest, so I'm going to give you a chance to kind of talk to some of this stuff. First off, like what I presented, and then also what S2 presented. It's like I do still believe, and this is always the caveat, is like, how much cheating do we allow? And if we don't allow cheating, I think that the electoral map shifts so quickly and so fast that it's going to be very hard for them to win an election without cheating. I think it already is. I think it's going to be near impossible without cheating for them to win, except for in deep, deep blue places.
Yeah. So I think, everything that two said was, it all stands on its own. I think the biggest thing that we have to look at, though, with the parties, of course, is everybody's got to realize that the parties, there's no real parties. They're just politicians versus us. They're both cheeks of the same ass, is what it all comes down to. But one thing that you are seeing is you're seeing a major push. You're seeing the lines where you say far right, far left, moving further and further. Now the far left is moving further and further and further far left so much more rapidly. It's been outpacing the right for quite a few years. And a lot of the people that are being left behind, the moderates, are looking at what's coming out of there going, no. And they're Democrats and they're liberals, but they are not high-end liberals, and saying absolutely not. I am not going to go along with this. You people are just going completely crazy, which is why the Democratic Party is failing, because the Democratic Party hooked their wagon onto this falling star mess, and it's coming apart. The Republican side, while reviled by all of us, I honestly see both of these parties basically being replaced here in the next decade. I don't see how either side of them can stand for too much longer. They really can't. They both burned their bridges. So, and nobody trusts either party. And of course, you've got the hardcores on either end. The hardcores on either end are gonna be hardcores no matter what anybody says. Oh no, that's all just a lie. That's so somebody saying something that it doesn't exist. It's AI, whatever you want to call it. Okay, it's a psyop, whatever you want to say, right? Or let's look at the hardcore lefties. The hardcore leftists. They're going to be like, oh no, I'm down with that. Absolutely, whatever you say, sir, I'm down with that. the hardcores are going to be the hardcores all the time. The 80% in the middle, that's where the swing comes from.
Yep.
And that 80% is looking at that other 20% going, what is wrong with you people these days? Now, granted, the quantity of hardcore left versus hardcore right, I mean, they vastly outnumber the hardcore right. Because they've just lost their damn minds, and they've had the microphone for the last 12, 13 years. They've had the mic.
Yep. And that's what
that's why Jasmine Crockett's out there running her mouth. She's trying to take the bullhorn back.
Right, exactly. And it's so entertaining to watch. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've got as far as all that goes.
And this graph actually shows you a lot of what we're talking about here. This is Pew Research. Pew Research is actually probably one of the better actual research foundations out there. They're fairly middle of the road as far as what they do. They don't do a lot of like political polling anymore, but they do things like this, like ideological shifts. And we're talking like 2017 here. So look at 1994. You see this overlap, this big peak overlap in the middle. This is the middle that Mike's talking about. Look at this. And this is what decides elections. This is why they're always trying to go for the moderates. I don't know what just happened there. It's weird. I just lost my.
Kristen Cinema actually lit that fuse for the moderates. And then Joe Manchin fell right in behind her.
Yeah. So this is and so in 23 years, basically, this shift happened. Now, I would venture to say, and I haven't seen any new polling on this. This is the one that I've seen the most of. I would venture to say that there is a giant valley here now. And that middle is probably just this little mound right here, if I was guessing. Because I'll tell you, a lot of ideological shifting happened when Trump took a bullet to the ear. That was when a lot, I mean, Dave Kemp said that the night that we got on here after he had been shot in Pennsylvania, and said he just won the election. And I truly believe that. I believe that was the moment that it was like, yeah, he's not losing this thing. So, but
that was our little 9/11. That was our little 9/11 that they could not allow to happen.
Well, all of us here said that as well. And we all said, look, he's won it unless somebody actually does put a bullet in him.
Yep. So that's generally what we're talking about here. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into this, into our extended chapter 1 coverage. And I've got some posts that we're going to go through what the data is actually showing in these shifts and what it could look like for the next census in 2030. So this is Ben Shapiro. Hey, Democrats, I have some unfortunate news for you. Here's what the electoral map looks like in 2030. Republicans likely pick up 12 electoral votes through the population growth. So you can see here, and it's probably a little bit harder to see out there with you guys. There we go. So not a single red state is gaining anything, or blue state is gaining anything, but multiple red states or purple leaning red states are gaining electoral votes. That is really alarming. And you can tell the Democrats are very worried about this. So just to give a context of what this will look like, and then I'll get you guys this quick reaction to it. This is what it would look like with the election. And if the election was held under the 2030, obviously there's a little bit of modeling that goes on in this, but at current trend lines, you can somewhat predict this stuff. Under the current census projections for 2023 or 2030, Republicans could lose Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia and still win the White House. If you guys don't realize how big of a shift that is, Pennsylvania has kind of become the new Florida, because Florida was the one that you had to win the presidency, and Florida has shifted red massively. Pennsylvania was the prize. Once on election night, when we were all on the stream, once Pennsylvania was in hand, we said he's winning this thing. There's no way that, and then you've got a ideological shift in Michigan and Wisconsin that's going on too. So what this does for all of you guys out there, it's like data, whatever. What this does is it does two things. It makes an election way easier for the Republicans to win. when you don't have to fight on so many different states, because Georgia is historically a red state, so is North Carolina, and they're not even taking those into consideration in this map. You could even flip these two, and you still win. What it does is it makes the Democrats, because elections are funded through donations, donors, corrupt money, NGOs, all of this stuff, but they have to spend money strategically. So the Democrats aren't going to spend a lot of money in California because they know they're going to win it. We're not going to spend a bunch of money in Texas and Florida because we typically know we're going to win it now, especially in the deep South states. You have to strategically spend your money. If you have to spend your money over a broader area of states, it's way harder to win. It's way harder to campaign. It's way harder to do this. If you can focus all of your campaign money on 2 or 3 states, it's much easier to win. And that's how electoral politics work.
So a much more granular view of this. There are more granular maps out there.
Yep.
And the problem with these states is they have such large population centers in them. And if you take those large population centers and you look at those are the ones that are controlled blue. But the majority of these states are actually red.
Yeah.
So for the last 20, 30 years, with this law that they had in place, Republicans were not allowed in to watch the counting that was going on in the polls.
We saw this in Pennsylvania in 2020.
Yeah. What happens when Republicans are allowed to go look and see what's going on in the polls, and all of a sudden, all of these blue population centers that they have really don't mean shit anymore?
Yep. Which is, this is multi-front. And I think the Democrats really realize this too. And if you look, all of these blues, there's 6 blue states losing according to projections. And I mean, I'm nervous about Arizona, obviously, always nervous about Arizona. Texas, Florida, and North Carolina all gaining this stuff. It's pretty crazy. And then let's also look at the congressional map, because that's another one that you guys have to think about. These states here, this is color coded. And you guys, real quick, if you want to look at this a little bit more detailed, jump on Survival Dispatch Patreon and sign up, and you can get this sit rep. It's in there for our insiders, and you can actually look at this stuff a little bit closer. But this is the seat changes. So that's got congressional implications for legislation. So, you're looking at Florida gaining 3, Texas gaining 4, California losing 4. And that's where these districts start to shrink. And it makes it way harder for them to actually have control in the legislation or the legislature of the country. A couple last ones. This is a quick video, and this was the New York Times that put this out. This is a 2-minute and 38-second video, and then I'll turn it back over to you guys to talk a little bit more about this. Let's watch this video real quick. 2 minutes, 38 seconds.
Even harder. And it's got nothing to do with the border or inflation or trans rights or Trump, and everything to do with the numbers on this spreadsheet. They reveal how many Americans pack up their things and move from one state to another. It's a lot, more than 7 million people in 2023. Now, my colleague Benjamin for the New York Times, he went through this whole spreadsheet, scouring 2 decades worth of data, and he found something that should strike fear into every Democrat. Millions of people have moved out of California, New York, Illinois, and other blue states, and they're moving to Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, red ones. Some are drawn by new manufacturing jobs, others are pulled by finance and tech hubs. But it's mostly teachers, police officers, dentists, people who just want a more affordable quality of life. People also move to blue states, of course, but in smaller numbers. In fact, over the last 20 years, 9 million more people migrated from blue to red than in the other direction. And Democrats, this is bad news for you. Why? Because the size of a state's population determines how many electoral college votes it receives. The next national census takes place in 2030, and assuming the migration flows on this spreadsheet continue until then, look what happens. California loses 4 votes, New York loses 3, Illinois loses 2, And other blue states like Minnesota, Oregon, and Rhode Island all lose a vote. And they go, just like the people, to those red states. In total, this reallocation could cost Democrats 12 electoral college votes. And don't forget, this would be locked in for a decade until the next census. So if your 2032 candidate wins exactly the same number of states as Kamala Harris just did, they won't get 226 votes. They'll only get 214. Democrats have been dreaming for decades that these population shifts would help turn red states purple. Instead, Texas and Florida have simply become bigger red states. Now look, a lot could change before the next census in 5 years, but blue states are going to have to change first. People still want to live in California and New York, but the cost of living must come down. If the Democratic governors of the
I'm going to stop it here. This is actually, obviously a liberal media source that's putting this out, but I think it's really interesting that that they're actually kind of sounding the alarm bells as well on this. One of the things that they point out there is that these states are not actually getting purple, they're getting more red, because as I said earlier, the people that are moving out of there are people that are more aligned with us ideologically, or maybe they're middle of the road. They move to a Florida or a North Carolina, and they're like, oh, well, it's way better here to live. And the people aren't, pompous a-holes as they are in a lot of blue states. Yeah, California is a great place to live. It's a beautiful state as far as like the climate and all of the stuff that they have there, agriculture and everything else. You get outside of the cities, California is very red in the rural areas, like a lot of other states, like Illinois. But you have to it doesn't change that the politics have soured, the entire, it's poison to the barrel. One apple basically has spoiled the entire bushel, and people are fed up with it, especially people that are not ideologically aligned with those far left policies. But I'll let you guys talk about this. And one other thing. This is ironically the reverse of what Ben Rhodes, who was a big guy with the Obama administration. Ben Rhodes was I think he was one of the high up officials in the Obama administration. He helped architect the 2008 win. And one of the things that he arrogantly said was that diversity is destiny. And after this, the Republicans will not be able to win another national election because of the population shifts. And that was true if you take into account illegal immigration that was allowed to come into this country and shift the population. And now, thanks to a lot of the exposure that Donald Trump has given to this, we're starting to see this shrink. So this is not probably even taking into consideration deporting illegal immigrants as well, that are illegal voters in a lot of these states as well. But Mike, I'm going to go to you first this time, and then we'll go to S2.
So, and another demographic that a lot of people are missing is a lot of people just didn't vote previously.
Mm-hmm.
You had Democrats that didn't vote in this most recent because they were like, well, my vote's not going to matter. And you had the exact same thing from conservatives from the previous election, who just, or the previous two elections, who, were just in the Obama doldrums. And then, like you said, you've got a lot of folks moving out of these very red states. They're getting out because they're terrible places to live.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends that used to live in the Bay Area are gone now. I've just got a few family members left in California. That was where I originally grew up. And I mean, it's like you said, I mean, California's a nice place. I enjoy California. I hate the populace in that state. They've gone insane. So, and for a great example, I mean, Sacramento has been doing everything that they have possibly been able to do to run conservatives out of that state for decades now. When I was a kid, the Central Valley was the breadbasket of the United States. I mean, it was we got all of our fresh fruit and vegetables most of the year round from the California Central Valley because it is a year-round process there. And over the last 3-4 decades, Sacramento has been playing power politics with water. And now, so I drove through the Central Valley 10 years ago, and it looked like something out of the Grapes of Wrath. It was ridiculous. I mean, just thousands of acres of dead vineyards and dead orchards. And that is a really spooky thing to see. It's just, and there's dust everywhere. It's a dust bowl there now. There's nothing because there's no water. But then you drive up to Sacramento and they're growing rice around Sacramento. Look at how much water it takes for rice.
Yep. And it's basically a food that has immersed its entire growth period. Exactly.
But you've got all these conservative districts down there in the Central Valley. They're starving them of water. So 100% right on the money. They're running folks out. And you know what? I'm glad to have left those areas, but those areas are going to wind up falling on their face. Look at California right now. California exists almost exclusively off federal aid because they've got all their programs. They don't pay for their programs. They're getting all their money out of Uncle Sugar on the opposite side of the country. Well, now that tap's closing, and now Newsom's going to be in big trouble when he's not going to be able to keep the cool stuff coming.
Yep. Yeah, and to further drive home the point, the Bay Area and the area in Sacramento, San Francisco. I mean, you talk about weather, like just perfect weather almost year round. I mean, in the middle of the summer, it'll be like in the 90s and like 2% humidity. So it'll feel like it's like in the Midwest, that's like an 80-degree day. That's what an 80-degree day feels like. It's insanely beautiful. And there's a reason why people all moved out there back when the state was first founded, because it's a beautiful place to live. But they've taken what is beautiful and what could be amazing, and they've turned it into a hellhole through just this ridiculous policies. S2, I'm going to go to you now.
Yeah. So that article they were talking about, the cost of living has to go down, and I don't think they understand that the cost of living is proportionate to its citizenry. And like Mike said, they're getting all of their money out in California from the government, and it's not going to make anything cheaper. It's going to make things more expensive. And then you also have the other part of it where they were growing food before. Now they've got the Chinese out there managing pot grows all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making their population stupider to begin with.
Yep.
And on top of that, they're driving up the costs because people are leaving because they don't have the tax money to survive on anymore.
Yep.
So then they raise taxes and everybody moves out of the country, and Newsom just continues to burn down the kingdom to rule over the ashes.
What could possibly go wrong, said the bomb tech.
Well, and here's the crazy thing. I'm going to give a couple of examples. There's a couple of states that are moving to cut themselves away from their current state. Washington, is it Washington? Oregon. I think it's Oregon. Oregon has
Washington,
voted
Oregon, and a chunk of Northern California.
Also, yep. Illinois. Illinois is doing the same thing.
That was another piece I was going to bring up too, is the moving of borders.
Yep. And that's the other thing, is that this is how fed up rural counties are. Like, we get down, and I'll use my own state. I know I use Illinois as an example, but it's a very, very good case study, because in the Midwest is predominantly a red area, a very conservative area when you look at it. We are surrounded by conservative states because of one corrupt city who peddles and meddles with elections. We get overruled. And now they're passing gun control that we're down here in the South. We're hunters. We're outdoorsmen. We're Second Amendment advocates. I mean, the Democrats that were in office down here when I was a kid were all pro 2A. They would not fit in the current Democratic Party. And now it's so bad down here, they don't even run Democrats in local and district elections. Unless it's something at the state level or national level, they don't run Democrats. Everybody's a Republican in my area. And that's the shift that you're seeing. we cannot, this is the problem, and this is a bold statement on my part, but you cannot share a country with these people, not when they're this far out of bounds of what we showed. That Pew Research, everybody was kind of huddled together. I've used the example of my uncle and my father when I was a kid arguing over Bill Clinton, but they both cared about each other, and they both, didn't want what was anything bad to happen to each other. That's not the case with the current leftists in this country. They want you to hurt. They want you to suffer, and that's dangerous, because it's a broken social contract.
They don't understand. They're creating their own demise.
Yeah. Yep. And so we're, and looking at this holistically, Indiana has voted that if I think it's bottom 33 or 35 counties in Illinois can secure a release from Springfield, which is our capital, they will gladly take those 35 counties into Indiana. Idaho has done the same thing with Oregon. Basically, these state legislatures have already voted, yes, we will gladly take these people. We're much more aligned with them. Now, here's the spoiler alert, and you guys can speak to this, but the reality is tyrants don't want to give up any level of power. So they don't want us to be happy. They don't want us to be happy with the state that we're a part of. They want us to suffer because we don't have the same worldview. And that's the way tyrants operate. They're not going to let us just walk away. They want to squash us and hold their boot on our neck. Mike, you got something to say?
Yeah. So if you could highlight the statement from Kurtz Verhoeven over here from coming in on YouTube. Kurtz is in South Africa. And one of the things that I want to definitely point out here is we're at a midpoint. Okay. We're at a midpoint. The direction that these states are going is the same direction that South Africa is at right now.
Yep. Apartheid.
Okay? They were at this position. They were at this position a decade or so ago. The same spot. Okay. They keep on moving. Look where they're at right now. They are either running or killing their entire white population out. And guess where we saw that before? Where the entire white population did nothing but feed the entire population. Like 96% in Rhodesia, which is pretty similar to what it is in South Africa.
Yep.
Guess what happens as soon as you kill and run off all the farmers and seize their land? Nobody's growing food. What happens then? Everybody starves. It turns into a desert and everybody starves. And guess what? You can't make arable soil overnight.
Nope.
It takes decades to make good farm soil.
And then what happened? And then what happens after that? You have more migration.
Right. Unless you have like alluvial land in frigging Eastern Virginia or something like that, where the topsoil is like 35 frigging feet deep and black as death.
So and I mean, this is us, sounding the alarms for, and I'll just be honest with you. I have a deep rooted connection with Southern Illinois. I was born here, and I've lived here a good chunk of my life since aside from when I was in the military. And I'm seriously contemplating, like, what does the future look like? If something is not done. First off, if the federal government doesn't step in and stand up for gun rights and freedom of speech and, freedom for parents to educate their own children and all that stuff. And we went over that on Sunday. If they don't start stepping in and they keep punting these footballs down, nothing's going to get done. There is some things that the federal government can do to protect the citizens inside of a state. And that lies at the feet of the Supreme Court. And
you've also got the other issue. You've also got the other issue too of the local and state elections.
Yep.
Those are the most important because they're the ones that can make the rules of the state. And that's really what's being pushed as far as that goes with gun control. We just saw that in Colorado.
Yep. Yep. Colorado, Washington State, all of these states are just moving. It's the deep divide that is happening. And, red states are getting redder, blue states are getting bluer and more tyrannical. It's insane. So, and I think one last thing I wanted to throw up here is the reality is what the media wants you to think is that you're all alone and you are outnumbered. This is what they want you to think. And the reality,
that's the granular map I was talking about.
Yep. So you can see these population centers. You can see Atlanta and Savannah and all those things. You can see Miami-Dade, which Trump won, ironically. So it can be won. And this is, these are population centers for sure. But all of these areas, are Americans like us, and we have to not rest on our laurels.
No ceding of territory.
Yep, exactly. And
when you take it, you keep it.
Yep, and that's absolutely true, because we're in an ideological war. We're in a war of attrition, really. And those wars are fought by staying engaged, and they're won by staying engaged. They're not won by winning one election and sitting back and saying, "Oh, everything's good now." Nope. The empire always strikes back. So you have to be prepared for it. And that's pretty much chapter 1 for us. It's I think it's a really, really big thing that we need to stay aware of. Actually, I'm going to throw this up because it kind of it's another thing that's kind of resting in the background of all of this, is that the 2028 election, which is the next national presidential election, we all know that the census was messed up in 2020, very much messed up, and it has been an issue. So it looks like Trump administration can try to fix the 2028 map by fixing the 2020 census, going back and looking at how those numbers were tallied and counted. This is an article by Eric Doherty on his Substack, and it's got some good information in it. You're able to read about half of it for free, but it does point out some of the things that could be done legally through the courts to be able to push back on the census and make sure that because I would say if you did that, it would actually even shift the 2030 census even more. But
in order to do that, you're going to have to beat these federal judges down into the ground.
Well, and that's been the war that we've also been fighting, is that all of a sudden levels of the judiciary that aren't mentioned in the Constitution think they have a right to tell the executive branch what to do. There's only one judicial set of judges that's mentioned in the Constitution, and that is the Supreme Court.
And actually, the Supreme Court and Congress have actually started speaking up about that sort of thing over the last few days, and kind of opening a few people's eyes to where those district judges actually lie in a hierarchy of things.
Yep. And that's the reality. Is I was just talking to a coworker today, because we were talking about a lot of this stuff. I am blown away at the people that have graduate level, master's level, and doctorate degrees that don't understand how the government works, that don't have basic understanding of a government class that you took in 8th grade. I mean, for the separation of powers, co-equal branches of government, but also what purview these branches of government have. Like to say that, the executive branch doesn't have the ability to execute the government agencies that it is literally over, it makes no sense. It doesn't even logically make sense.
These are also the same people that when you stop them there on the campus, and you start asking the are you smarter than a 5th grader questions. What year was the War of 1812?
Yeah. 1938.
They blow it every time.
Yep.
They blow it every time. It's like, oh God, you are just dumb as a brick, aren't you? Bless your heart.
And we know what bless your heart from the South means.
Yep. That's essentially giving a double bird to the person.
Oh yeah.
And maybe the fist, So anyways, well, that concludes chapter 1. I think it's a really, really interesting topic for us to cover. We're going to do a quick break for a message from Sawyer Products, and we're going to get into chapter 2, and there's a lot of juicy things there too. So be right back.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
And now we move on to chapter 2. Chapter 2, for those of you that are new, is a little bit broader view. We do one big topic or one big series of topics, kind of in the same vein for chapter 1. And then in chapter 2, we kind of cover other newsworthy events in the rundown or the news. So we're going to start off with a big announcement that happened today, and I think this has been a long time coming. Is that Alejandro Mayorkas has had his Secret Service protection revoked. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And I know Trump already canceled his security clearance, I'm pretty sure, as well. So no more security briefings, no more Secret Service. And, a lot of people are like, oh, this is unprecedented. Oh, how dare he? No, these people are tyrants. And they are traitors, because this is the man that let all of these illegals in, these gang members that are murdering little girls while they're jogging. Yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy. And good riddance. You guys have anything to add to that?
Smoke a turd in hell.
Yep. So
can't wait till they bring him in front of a court.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yep. And I think who was it that said the Kash Patel thing? Was that you, S2?
About what?
No, it was you, Mike. Somebody said that Kash Patel is getting ready to drop a bomb.
No, that was
me. That was me.
So this is
there's going to be carpet bombing that's going to occur, and it's so close I can smell it.
Yep.
I really want to see a gallows put up on the National Mall. I really want to see that so bad.
Well, maybe they can get the guy that built it last time at J6 to do it.
Right. Here's another piece of news, and this is when you see the left doing certain things like seething, and this is Giffords. This is Brandon Herrera, AK guy, ran for Congress in Texas. Great follow on YouTube. He does gun meme reviews, which are hilarious. Well worth 15-20 minutes per episode. Really awesome dude and big advocate in the gun community. This is exactly what I voted for. Stay mad. And Giffords, as expected, Kash Patel is trying to gut the ATF. This week, he outlined plans to reassign 1,000 agents to the FBI, which would severely reduce the workforce and limit the ability to keep communities safe from gun crime. This may
is a lie.
All Americans.
This is a lie.
Big awe on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
But it's a lie. It's not true.
Well, okay, so enlighten us then.
So the ATF field office put out a memo to all of their employees. It was an internal memo. They're only reassigning 150 ATF agents.
Well, now I'm just sad.
And even Kash Patel has refuted this statement. Giffords made this up.
Well, that's not surprising, but I'm all for us getting rid of 1,000. Yeah, I'm with Mike.
They were only going to be on temporary assignment with no end date in the temporary assignment. So it's not really gutting the ATF. They would still be ATF agents. They would just be reassigned to the FBI on temporary status.
And they already reassigned a couple of a bunch of the agents to the border, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. They're actually going to go. They're going to be recredentialed as FBI, but they're going to be in support of CBP.
Yep. So Tom Homan gets them. Okay.
Send the Trump haters down there.
Yes, please.
Shit.
Okay.
Tоварищ.
Hey, perfect timing. That was a perfect segue. Speaking with a Russian accent, because this next story is about Russia. Mario Nawfal,
Awful.
he has this breaking U.S. Russia and Ukraine reach Black Sea security agreements. The White House announced breakthrough deals between Russia and Ukraine aimed at reducing Black Sea tensions and moving towards peace. Russia agreed to allow safe navigation, avoid military commercial vessels, and stop using force in the Black Sea. In return, the U.S. will restore Russia's access to agriculture and fertilizer markets, including easing insurance and port access barriers. Both sides have committed to implementing the Trump-Putin agreement banning strikes on energy infrastructure and Ukraine and Russia. In Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine struck a parallel deal pledging safe navigation and maritime restraint. The U.S. also reaffirmed the support of the prisoner exchange return Ukrainian children taken by Russia. And real quick, there's a follow-up posted by Mario as well. This has a video connected to it as well. That was the older story, and then he retweeted with this. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia no longer trusts Kyiv after the 2023 collapse of the original grain deal, and would only accept terms enforced by Washington. The new maritime ceasefire is seen as a path toward a border truce. U.S. and Russia officials met in Riyadh this week, focusing on restoring safe shipping and banning strikes on energy infrastructure, reportedly supported by Trump and Putin. Russia accuses
Ukraine of infrastructure terrorism, while Kyiv blames Moscow for years of civilian casualties and broken agreements. Lavrov, only the U.S. can guarantee results. This time we need very clear working guarantees. Source, Dunya News and TASS. Look, the Army guy can read better than the Air Force guy.
Hey, you hush up. This is right in my face, okay? So, yeah. Hard to see. Anyways, you know, the lighting's so important.
Well,
so,
yeah.
Anyways,
we're not buying that.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Here we
Sucks
go.
To suck.
Yeah, it does. Here we go. We'll watch this video real quick, 45 seconds.
Considering this history of changing mind, every time a truce is announced or a ceasefire, and every time Ukraine agrees to that, only because at this specific moment Ukraine finds itself cornered on a battlefield, and the moment there is a pause in hostilities, it takes them 2 weeks or a month to violate the ceasefire. This has always been the case. This time, we need very clear working guarantees. Considering this history.
Okay, so
the damn CIA would just keep their fingers out of everything. Everything would be okie dokie.
Well, they'd be better, but
So-
let's not act like either side are virtuous in this
absolutely.
whole thing.
This is essentially like bad guy versus bad guy, and we're the kids holding the popcorn, you know, that they're like, well, which side do we cheer for? You can't really cheer for either side here. They're both awful people. Both the leaders are awful, and both countries are corrupt. And so at least the government side. I can't say much about the people of Ukraine or people of Russia. By all accounts, they seem to be good, everyday people, but the governments are corrupt as all get out. And this is just it's a penis measuring contest between two bad guys, in my opinion. I'll give you guys a chance to kind of talk about this a little bit more in depth.
K Hammer says, I don't think that is the CIA's fingers they're sticking into everything.
Oh, good stuff.
Jake Hammer, you win the you at least
That's
win
the comment
the
of the day.
internet for section 2.
New word of the day. New word of the day is oblong.
Nice.
Yeah, Lavrov here, he's a dirtbag too, and always has been. And let's just face it. I mean, we don't even know who violated the last ceasefire, because both sides basically just started shooting, and because that's just the way they are. So. Yeah,
didn't Ukraine, or wasn't Ukraine blamed for going in and blowing up the power station in Kursk?
Well, and that's the problem. Did Ukraine do it? Did the Russians do it?
No.
Did the CIA do it? Hell, yes. Who frigging knows? But I'm talking the grain shipment one. I mean, because there have been so many attempts at ceasefires on this whole train wreck of a war. These two sides hate each other. That's what it all comes down to. And Zelensky couldn't get that into his head about why Trump didn't want him in the room in Riyadh. It's like, of course I don't want you in there. You two are going to get into a fist fight.
Yeah. Well, Zelensky's going to act like he's in a fist fight.
I was going to say, no, I don't think so.
He's going to get in his skin-tight suit and dance around with his, little member flopping around.
Or somebody's going to just put their hand on his head and let him swing.
There's a reason why Putin carries his right hand on his waistline.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's a dude that'll still kill you today. Yeah.
Yes, and you can tell when he looks at somebody, he's just like, I could kill you now. I know many ways.
I will have you. I will have you removed after this. We go to Lubyanka, have little talk, then you go Siberia.
You will unalive yourself,
little man. We will find your fingernails on the side of the walls trying to climb out of the pit.
How do you feel about polonium?
Okay, so next story, Mario Knopfel again, and he does a lot of really good. What did I do?
Keikheimer said it again. Both sides probably need short ceasefires because it takes a good minute to reload their Mosin rifles.
By the way, there are some, and this is back on that subject, but it's so funny when the war kicked off, there were multiple gun tubers that did like the weapons used in the Ukrainian war, and it was like they had like Tommy guns and crap that we'd given them in like 1943 as a part of our deal with the Russians. Just insane, man.
The best one was the old Maxim machine gun.
Yes.
Circa World War I Maxim machine gun that somebody put a hollow sun sight on top of. And it just had a little bubble, little voice off of it. Just, please let me die.
If those guns, if there's nothing better of a testament to the Maxim machine gun, it is the fact that it's still being used over 100 years. I think it's like 1880 something was when that was invented and used in multiple world wars, and still taking names on the battlefield.
Hey, I have a 1913 Enfield, so I don't want to hear
it. Nice. Okay, here's the next one, and this actually kind of ties. We got a question for you guys after we go through this. So Doge has identified and removed 7.1 million Social Security number holders who were marked as alive, even though they were over 120 years old. Another 5 million people still need to be checked as the Trump orders full investigation into fraud and government waste. Some of the fake identities were likely still receiving Social Security benefits, costing taxpayers millions. At Doge is now publishing weekly updates as it cleans up the system. So here is my question. How many of these people voted in the last two elections? of the 7.1 million people.
Well,
Because
add
this-
7.1 and 5 million, and how many votes were short with Biden?
Well, is that not questions that we should be asking? They're uncovering this corruption at breakneck speed, in my opinion, not as fast as it needs to be uncovered. But when you look at the absolute, this blatant corruption across all of these government agencies, who's to think that our elections are secure? You know, this goes back to what S2 was talking about at the beginning. You know, that they're not secure, and this is just further evidence that that we need a massive overhaul in the voter rolls in every state and nationally.
Well, they are. The good news is they are. The good news is they are working on cleaning up the voter rolls. That piece has been being worked on for the last 4 years, but they're still not going to be perfect. The only way I see to be able to perfect this is to basically blow it up and start all over again.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're still going to have that obfuscation that occurs in the voter rolls where you're not going to know what's real and what's not.
And Drock 6886. And how far off is the census when it comes to paying taxes?
Yep. 100%.
But this whole thing, there is an easy way for them to identify who these people are and where they are, where these Social Security benefits are going. If they're going to clone voters or if they're going to shadow voters, they can track this very easily through the payment system. Or just basically send it along in an envelope with a tracker and track it physically to a location. Of course, it'll take 2 weeks for it to get there because it's the U.S. Postal Service. But
yep. Anytime I have something coming Postal Service, even if it's from Amazon, I know it's going to be late. Like it's insane. And there's no tracking. Like with FedEx and UPS, I can literally get to the minute tracking. I can see where the truck is when it's out for delivery. In most cases, it's kind of insane. But our government can't do that, and they're losing money.
I mean, there is tracking. It's just wrong.
Yes, 99% of the time.
And and you also got to remember the U.S. Postal Service was originally a private organization.
It still
is. The U.S. government put so many requirements on them that eventually they went bankrupt, and the U.S. government took ownership of them, kind of like they did with Amtrak.
Regulate until you can devalue it and buy it up. This is the government, guys.
Or just take possession. Not buy it.
We won't even talk about the USPS and their complicity in the 2020 election steal too.
Oh, yeah. What? There was no fraud in those drop boxes.
I'm not even talking about the drop boxes. We won't go there.
Okay. Yeah, we could do a whole episode on that, I'm sure. So this is the Trump effect on investment pledges in the United States. So here we go. Hyundai, 20 billion, UAE, 1.4 trillion, Saudi Arabia, 600 billion, Apple, 500 billion, SoftBank, OpenAI, 100 billion, Nvidia, 100 billion, Johnson & Johnson, 55 billion, Taiwan Semiconductor, 100 billion, CMG Group, 20 billion, Eli Lilly, 27 billion, Merck, 1 billion, and GE Aerospace, 1 billion. 3 trillion in new direct investments into America in the first few weeks of the Trump administration.
Yeah, they can keep the pharmaceutical companies. Fuck them.
I was getting ready to say that, but I mean, here's the reality of it is when you look across that, yes, we could take those pharmaceutical companies out, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, Merck. Yes, not a fan of those, but it is clear that the world is seeing that the United States is a safe bet when it comes to investments.
And there are a lot of pharmaceuticals that we do rely upon.
It's true.
We do need manufactured here.
True. Eli Lilly does manufacture aspirin.
Yes. Yes. And I think isn't it Merck that does the horse paste? I'm not allowed to say the name.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The Miracle Eye.
Yes. Yes. Ironically, what's really funny about all of that is that they won the Nobel Prize for that. And I'm not going to say the name of it. I'm going to just give this backstory of it. They won the Nobel Prize for use in for human consumption, and then they demonized their own drug like 5 years later, that it was unsafe for human consumption. Just crazy. Almost like there's an ideological issue there.
You don't think they were up to something, do you?
That's
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Clearly.
Okay, you guys ready to let your blood boil? Here we go. Marine waving a Palestinian flag while wearing a USMC uniform. Isn't there some kind of code against this? Let's watch.
Hey, dude, he's all yours. I'll keep an eye out for the cops.
Clearly propaganda, but okay, that's enough.
Yes.
Kid, where is your gunny?
Sounds like he needs a good reckoning.
Well, it looks like he's a lance corporal from where I'm sitting, but I'm still not cutting him any slack.
Yeah, his gunny is still going to just pry his head open.
Yeah,
right. Well, and I just, that's disgraceful. And I don't care if it's an Israeli flag or whatever flag it is. You serve the United States of America, promoting the country's ideology.
Look at the source. That's EuropePalestine.network.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. See, that's why you're an intelligence officer. You catch the little things that us peons don't.
He notices things other people don't notice.
Yes. It's almost like he was trained to do this. He can read, unlike me.
Unlike the Air Force.
Yes. Okay.
There's a difference between reading and speaking. There's a difference between reading and speaking.
There's a characteristic of Mike Sterling, y'all. And that's when he finds a spot, he just pushes harder.
He just keeps digging. Just keeps digging.
He's like an exposed nerve. Or he exposes your nerve and then just ever so gently messes with it.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's why we love you, Mike. So, anyways, moving on. Thomas Sowell quotes. This is a great follow on X, by the way.
President Trump's promise.
This is Tom Homan giving a report on the border crossings current status on Fox News.
Look, we're keeping President Trump's promise. President Trump has promised we're going to secure the border, which we've done to a large extent. We're still working on it, but we're at 96% decline on the border. And he promised we're going to prioritize public safety threats and national security threats, illegal aliens in this country. And that's what we're doing. Look, we're keeping President.
I'm going to say something about how endearing Tom Homan is. The dude just has a mic drop moment almost on a daily basis with the media. It's like when they were talking about, using the Illegal Aliens Act or to deport these gang members. And they were like, well, that's a really old law. He's like, oh, well, we've used the Constitution, right? Isn't that an old law? It's like, yeah. How do you shut this down? Yeah, the laws by which you are governed are old as well. So, freaking amazing. So, anyways,
life's tough when you're stupid, man.
Yeah. Well, and they're doing great work on the border. The border is practically sealed up. We want to see that other 4% go bye-bye, and then we want to see a decline in illegal immigrants in this country accelerated. But I do have a question for you guys. What is wrong with Mark Cuban these days?
Well, he looks like Rosie O'Donnell.
And is also best friends and his largest donor.
Here, let me back that up. The volume's not the best here.
First time in American history, a president has won every swing state. And is also best friends and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet. Question.
What?
So two questions.
She's saying Elon Musk owns the internet.
Well, I was reliably informed that was Al Gore, right? I mean, didn't he invent the internet?
That was a lie too.
I know. It's total sarcasm, but yeah, it's like Oh wow,
That's
Rosie
right.
O'Donnell.
Ireland has given her, I think, 60 days to vacate.
Oh really? I had not heard that. So that's
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh, good times, good times. Okay, here we go on the next one. This is really how you enforce border security. So this is, I believe, Poland, if I remember correctly.
It is Poland.
Yeah. So let's watch this real quick. Guys just coming across the border here.
Oh,
Welding or cutting a hole with a welder.
it's just not going to turn out good for you guys.
What's the ladder for so they can get back in?
That's what was my first question. Like, why are they bringing ladders? And
It's
here comes
too
the
late.
popo. Sit down.
Okay, we're on the ground.
Yes.
Faces in the dirt.
Yep. And that is how you protect the border 101.
So I'm not sure if you guys heard this week or last weekend, but Poland just pulled out of the Ottawa Accord, the landmine ban, and they're getting ready to pump out about 30 million anti-personnel mines for that border.
Sounds like they're getting direction from NATO.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think I kind of think Poland's kind of doing whatever the hell Poland wants to do these days. They are little European Texas, so
it just sounds like to me like they're getting ready to set up a border deterrent.
Do
Well,
you blame them?
No.
Historically, they've had border issues.
Mini Gitmo.
Yeah.
They've had problems with the Russians before,
and the Germans. So yeah, I mean they've had some border issues in the past. So maybe they're learning their lessons. Next, Vincent Oshana from Valuetainment. He has brought receipts for what Trump derangement syndrome does to people. This is on Piers Morgan. This is actually really funny. So
you, just like Rosie O'Donnell, have Trump derangement syndrome, and I want to show you something, Piers. No, I think Brian, excuse me. Let me, dude, you wouldn't say that shit in my face. So shut up. Number one, you and Rosie O'Donnell should sue mainstream media for what they've done to you. And Piers, I brought some photos of pre-Trump and post-Trump. Look at this. This is Rosie O'Donnell before Trump, right? Nice, good. Look what happens, Piers, with Trump derangement syndrome. All right, Rachel Maddow.
Your hair turns gray.
Maddow was, and then look, Trump derangement syndrome. She looks like Stephen Colbert. And then look, Griffin, someone that I might have hooked up with if I was drunk. They turned her into Carrot Top. People, lost your freaking mind. Oh, excuse me, I'm not finished. And Piers, in that interview, she's like, I can't believe they're, sexual assault. Because when Conor McGregor came there, she supported Bill Clinton. How many sexual assault rape allegations? Biden the same thing. Biden sniffing kids live on camera all the time. His freaking daughter writes in her diary that her father showered with her at inappropriate ages. She left to freaking Ireland. Do you know what's happening in Ireland, Rosie? Freedom of speech, migration, all the freaking rise in crime. It's unbelievable. And here's my thing, Piers. There's people waiting in line and fighting and dying to come to this country. She wants to leave. To hell with her. Let her give up her spot for somebody else. I have family members that are waiting to come here, Piers. Let them come in and to hell with her.
Yeah, I just want to answer to what Jersey Shore just said real quickly here. First of all, the guy that you support is a liable.
You should be a
Excuse me, I'm talking now, and I didn't bring pictures with me. I didn't bring pictures with me, to show to everybybody.
Right.
So if I can just respond to what you just said, you didn't want me to interrupt you. You didn't
see me in public.
All right, children. Now
the receipts were hilarious. So yes, and that's what. Vincent is a very fiery guy. If you ever seen him on Valuetainment, he's very fiery and very fed up with a lot of the things that are going on out there. Here's another news, and I don't know if we covered this yesterday, but this started breaking. James O'Keefe, this 23andMe issue, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this. They're getting ready to shut down 23andMe, and there's a lot of speculation that they've leaked a lot of delicate information about people, including DNA samples, because that's how you get the 23andMe is a DNA sample. So they have literally tens of millions of people's DNA.
No, they sold it. They sold all that data to China.
Well, yeah. That's why
no
you
joke.
Yeah. Oh, I
I'm
know.
not kidding.
Yeah. And so let's watch this 52-second video. This is an undercover James O'Keefe Media Group video. So let's watch this.
That's when 23andMe comes in. Trying to figure out what all you are. I should do that.
You shouldn't do that, though. Do not give your information to they sell it to other people.
They sell it to Russia.
They sell it to Russia.
Meet Nathaniel Johnson, policy advisor for the United States Department of the Treasury.
There's a clause in their contract that basically says, like, we can give your information to our shareholders so that they can do stuff, and all of their shareholders are like pharmaceutical companies. But some of those pharmaceutical companies are companies based in other countries, and those pharmaceutical companies in other countries are like the property of like the Ministry of Defense of Russia, or like owned by China.
Yep.
That's when 23andMe comes in. Trying to figure out what all you are. I should.
So a lot of people use 23andMe to get ancestry data. I know people in my family that are tracking down our family tree have used their services. Really quick, what are you guys' thoughts on this? And you know, how deep does this level of scandal go?
About a swing, Mike.
Oh no, go for it too. You are all over this one.
That's this with a 10-foot pole. So,
well, there's 23andMe. There's a lot of speculation running around right now, and in fact, I know a lot of it's true. That there are companies in the United States that are masquerading as American companies, but they're actually Chinese companies. And I've believed for a long time that this has been one of them. There was information that came out, I think, 3 years ago that they were indeed selling this data off to China. And I don't think they were selling it off to China. I think they were just giving it to them because they are a Chinese company. So there is that.
How?
And then there's other rumors about this company too, where they were actually giving people fake information. There was some expose going on about this where they were employees were actually joking about, yeah, we sent them fake shit. It's not real.
I mean, two can play that game. I kind of may have sent a sample to those people that was
Came
not
from your dog.
I wouldn't do that. Maybe it was from like 5 different people, all in the same sample.
Well, it's like all of these companies out there. So let's take a look at some of these other companies that do collections of things, like Cologuard, for instance. What do you think happens to that stuff when they're done with it? They don't just take and flush it down the toilet.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, it really doesn't matter for any of us that have been a vet since 9/11. The military's got our DNA samples, and it's all been hacked. It's all gotten hacked, so it really doesn't make a difference. Yeah. Everybody's DNA is out there all over the place.
Yep, 100%. And yeah, and we were also like the experimental, you know, with the anthrax shot. You guys remember that? Did you guys have to get those?
Dude, you have no idea the crazy crap that they brought around back in 1990 for the first Gulf War. Yeah. That I still have no idea what it was that they shot us up with, and they wouldn't put it under our little yellow cards.
You don't know why that little tail started sprouting?
You're right.
Hey, it helps me with balance, okay?
It really helps me when I run, guys. So
if I ran, which I don't.
My PT scores were so good.
But you could bounce. You could be like a kangaroo.
Yep.
There's a whole song for that, and I'm not going to get into it.
Yep.
I'm a lumberjack, and I'm okay.
Okay. Here we go. This is also from Vincent Osana. This is actually instant karma. Tesla Vandal
I love
gets
this.
what he deserves.
I love this so much. Yeah, leave those fingerprints. Leave the fingerprints. Good facial pics. Oh yeah, that's gonna look great in court.
Oh, here we go again. What is it with these people and rubbing their asses on stuff?
Now, if you guys didn't notice, that's actually Vincent. This was a satire thing, but I thought it was pretty freaking funny. So
I did notice that.
Yes. And real quick, Rob Schneider, actually, for you guys that own Teslas, he has the perfect arson protection device available at Nemo Arms and Scottsdale Tactical. It's a beautiful.
I responded to that when I actually asked. I put in for a feature request on Teslas with Musk the other day. I was asking for an exoskeleton electroshock anti-vandalism system. I'm still waiting to hear back.
There's a South African company.
There's
a South African company that does all that.
Nice. Isn't Nemo Arms General Valley's company? Isn't that Nemo?
I think it is.
I think it is. Yeah. So that's a kind of a cool shout out there. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That is. Yeah. So very cool. Very cool. So, anyways, that concludes chapter 2, and we're gonna roll right into chapter 3 because when I get in
because we're retarded, we're gonna do it again.
Well, yeah, why not? So, you know how you fight terrorism is you just release. You know how we fought the Germans and Italians and Japanese, but we just outproduced them. So I think this is Elon Musk's idea for the Tesla tariff.
I am not buying one of those.
That is
me neither. Me neither.
You know what that reminds me of? That
Lunar lander.
That damn scene of all the smart cars in that movie. What was the name of that stupid movie?
You're gonna have to be more specific about movies.
That stupid movie where all the technology was going crazy at World's End or something like that. It was that couple was the couple of the liberal family was all stuck.
Yeah, it was Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke, right?
Leave the world behind.
Leave the world behind. Yep. Yeah, where all the smart cars were all smashing into stuff.
You mean the Michelle Obama movie? You mean?
Right. Yeah. That. Yeah.
Yes. So this is a wonderful mic drop moment. So this is Chris Will on Joe Rogan podcast.
Apparently Trump's son went up to Biden at the inauguration and said, "It's on now."
What is this?
And that's literally, apparently lip readers have read what he said when he went up to, because there's a moment where he goes up to Biden and Biden looks confused and he doesn't smile. He's like, eh, but he walks up to him and says, "It's on now." Apparently.
That's
I still want to know what was in the white envelopes.
Yes. So I don't know what they're putting in the water. Hold up. I don't know what they're putting in the water, but this will blow your mind. I saw this and I was like, I've got to throw this up here. Robert Griffin III posted this. 7'3" at 13 years old. Watch this crap. He can handle the ball.
Really, kid?
My son's 12 and he's 5'5".
Guess who gets picked at schoolyard basketball first?
Gee, you think?
I mean, that's just nuts. That's a 13-year-old. Like, what in the world did his mother and father eat before they created him?
I was well on my way to being that height, and then something stopped it along the way because I was 6 foot when I was 13.
Wow.
How much you want to bet he's an IVF baby?
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. Could be, man. I didn't even think about that.
I blacked out what I say.
Yeah, well, YouTube just deleted our entire channel. No.
Hey, you were wondering what's in the white envelopes? There's what's in the white envelopes.
Okay.
Told him his name was in the ledger too.
Yeah. That's my line. You're not allowed to use that.
So
I'm the one that gave it to you. Crackhead.
Let's see how many of the men in our audience actually get this. It says only men would understand. So here we go.
Oh.
It's Fluffy.
Oh.
You just call him an asshat.
I mean, it's Italian. It could be.
Yeah. But yeah, what I saw that, I was like, I gotta include that. All right, here we go. I'm finna run for president.
Oh my God, that is.
I swear, all of us must follow the same channels on X.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the best.
Yes. And here we go. Just so you know, and this is for all the liberals out there, Trump is only on day 62. I think it's day 63 now of 1,460 days. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
And they're working on another.
Yes.
Well, yes. Tomorrow is another day.
No, I mean working on another term.
No,
I don't know how.
No.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on that. I don't know that I want that precedent set again.
The dude needs to take a breath for a while.
Yeah.
Well, that, and we don't need to change the Constitution for that sort of thing.
Right. There was a reason why as soon as FDR died, they're like, hey, quick, let's fix this. We don't need tyrants, because that was, few people know that was the closest we ever had to a king.
Yeah, you can't argue congressional term limits and then turn around and change it for a president.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So here we go. What people think Mexico is like. Mexico in reality. Watch closely. Pay attention to the quadrants at the bottom.
I can say it's absolutely right.
Yeah. Sure, it's street violence, but it's also pyramids that nobody questions who built, tacos, and Acapulco.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you notice in Egypt, everybody's like, who built these pyramids? There's no way that anybody could have built those. In Mexico, nobody questions who built the pyramids. They needed a spot for a quinceañera, man.
The only thing they're missing from this is the little urchins running around trying to sell you chiclets for $20.
Oh, Mista, chicle.
Oh my gosh, that was a nice pull, S2. That was a nice pull. Okay, here we go. Burning Teslas. What happened to climate change? Now it's diaper change. Solid. Okay, here we go. Big news out of Disney. Disney quietly cancels live-action Pocahontas starring Dylan Mulvaney.
What is Jeff O'Donnell doing there?
The raccoon. Nice. Another good pull. Oh, that's really good.
On fire tonight, man.
Yes. Yeah, this is Babylon Bee, obviously, but the Snow White movie that was full of diversity and equity and inclusion is tanking. I think it has a 1.9 out of 10 score on Rotten Tomatoes, which couldn't have happened to a better company.
Yeah, it is
nuclear
tanking
implosion.
So bad.
And here we go. Arming school staff, teachers, librarians. I second amendment this proposal.
I think they need a bigger caliber gun.
Seconded.
Oh, and here we go. Regardless of what the fake news media says, the majority of Americans still support these two.
God, please stop dancing.
Elon's like, I don't get it, but I'm just mouthing it.
As a father of an autistic son, I can clearly see when the autism kicks in.
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah.
It's when the flashing lights start.
Oh yeah,
He's risen with a tism.
Oh, so good, so good. And finally, from the Babylon Bee, 4D chess. Genius Trump leaks war plans to the Atlantic where no one will see them. Just
I was rocking that one. I was rocking that one today. I was rocking it before anybody else even got started on it.
Oh, good times, good times. And that concludes chapter 3. What we like to do at the end of each episode is give you guys some homework, some marching orders, things for you to do in light of our main topic and other news that we have seen tonight. And I think one of the biggest ones, and we have said this almost till we're blue in the face, really since the election, before the election, get involved in local politics. It may be messy, it may be ugly, but it is required for us to keep our country. And I think that we need to engage in our civic duty and in educate our children. This is one thing I've started going through Constitution, the supporting documents of the Constitution, the way that the founding was actually created, all of the supporting documents of the Bill of Rights, talking to my children about that and speaking why the country was founded the way it is and why we need to preserve it. The only way that we can preserve it is by engaging and not putting our head in the sand. So follow news sources that are going to bring to light the true corruption that's going on out there. Put pressure on your local politicians, state politicians, and federal politicians to do the right thing, to support our rights as American citizens and to protect our borders as well as our information. In an information age, that is a really, really important thing. As we saw with the 23andMe thing, it's very easy for other countries to get a hold of our DNA, of our records, of our data. And it's really important that we, in this new digital age, that we have a government that's going to protect that stuff. Obviously, follow Survival Dispatch, because we pour hours and hours each day into putting these sit reps together, into putting these shows together, so we can bring the news to you. And sign up on our sign up on our Patreon. That is where you can get all of this information, lots of new things coming out, lots of new information, and some new content that's going to be just for our insiders only, that I think you guys are going to really like. So it's a lot of incentives for you guys, our survival guide, and all of the other things that come in with signing up. $9.99 a month, and you can also sign up for an entire year for just $95. Gives you guys a little bit of savings, saves you a couple months worth of that cost. And we hope you guys will join us and get involved in that Signal chat that just is insane. Every time I open it up, it's like 500 new messages, and it's
you mean the one you don't pay attention to?
Yeah. Well,
one we never see you hanging around on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I pop in there every once in a while. By the time I pop in, like, my brain overloads. I'm like, how am I going to read 500 messages in 5 minutes? So
just roll to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Roll to the end. Pick up where you
can. I like you guys' messages from time to time. Anyways, that's my advice to you guys as Americans. We've got to stay involved in the civic world and influence our communities, our states, and our country. I'm going to turn it over to you, Mike, and let you add to it.
So I had a great conversation with my neighbor the other day. He and I were off to go do some stuff together, and he's a prepper, but he's not to the point where I am as a prepper. And he was telling me that he was feeling that, he's feeling like he can let up off the gas, and he doesn't feel the real, urge to have to prep so hard right now because, well, President Trump's in office. And I had to explain to him, one, all you did was buy yourself 4 years. That's it. Okay. That's all you bought yourself. At best, you bought yourself 4 years. Next, you also have to look at, and anybody that's not working with the folks from both the S2 Underground and Forward Observer to make sure that you're keeping up with your proper intelligence material. You need to be looking at that. In particular, Forward Observer keeps a real close eye on the left wing. All right. You've got a lot of radical left wing groups. Looking at that, we are thinking that we may be moving towards another round of violent radicalism from the left, the likes that we have not seen since the late 60s, early 70s. Okay. The days of the Weather Underground and all that, you're going to have to go back and read up on it. Okay. But it was really bad. We had a huge bombing campaign, which is where my community got really, really involved. So keep prepping. Okay. Don't think that just because they're not in charge doesn't mean that they're not getting ready to burn cities down. Okay. And God, I hope I'm wrong. I 100% hope I'm wrong. But guess what keeps on happening? The lefties keep on burning stuff down, right? And natural disasters keep happening. What am I prepping for? Bad events, because natural disasters happen every day.
Regardless of whether they're man-made or not.
Yep.
I wasn't going to get into that.
Yeah. S2, I'm going to turn it over to you to add to that.
So I'm going to touch on a couple of things actually that I think both of you have. So Mike says get involved. One of the things that needs to happen is you need to start paying attention to what's going on to your local and state politics, because regardless of what happens in any presidential election or national election for that matter, that does affect your day to day, but those changes are a long ways down the road before they actually impact you. What does impact you on a day to day basis is your local and state politicians. And even though we won the 2024 presidential election, there was still a lot of fuckery going around in states with the down ballots. So that's important. Arizona is all up in arms about what happened, where the president wins a swing state, but nothing gets done with the down ballots. They're still screwing around with that. So like I said before, they're still going to cheat. Don't underestimate them. They may be quiet right now, but something is getting ready to come down the pike, as Mike said. So then the second thing that you hit on, John, was the civics lessons. Go down to your school boards when they have their meetings and talk to your school board members down there and ask them what their curriculum is for civics, because they don't teach that anymore and it needs to be taught. I can tell you right now, my civics teacher when I was in high school, if she knew who I was sitting here talking about this, she'd probably be dancing on top of her desk thinking, well, he did actually pay attention. I did pay attention. I did pay attention. I was just bored and I was sleeping most of the time. But anyway, so those are two important things that can happen there. And I also want to give a shout out because John, I think you need some of this. Craig Weigert, Stay Brewed Coffee. Go buy some of his coffee, because
it's good coffee.
He sent me a care package the other day that I was not expecting, and so thanks, Craig.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. And yes, you're right. I do need some coffee. It has been a long day. I've been up since 4. So yeah.
And also he and I have been working on a prepper pack for coffee. Yeah, long-term storage coffee that you can put into your preps, so that I don't have to immediately, within the first week of a major
murdering
event,
people ad nauseum,
start going to war crimes. Look, no caffeine, no no Geneva Convention. Okay, it's not my fault. I can quit anytime I want. All right.
Absolutely. Hey, Mike, check the private chat since this is typically your thing. And welcome back. I put the conflict of question in there for you.
Okay.
So we are close. Let me just say a couple other things. Further reminder. Like, share, and subscribe to our content, on all of our platforms. And we are super excited for what we're bringing to you and what the future holds for Survival Dispatch News, and our new lineup of hosts. Just a reminder, I am on Tuesday and Sundays. Jeff O'Donnell is on Saturdays, and then you get Chris Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're kind of splitting up so that Chris can have a life outside of building this company. You guys, give him a pat on the back, because that guy works harder than almost anybody I know, and
I want
he really
to
takes
add something. I want to add something onto that, John. So
Mhm.
on Saturdays, I'm thinking about breaking up my schedule and going on with Jeff O'Donnell. And what we're going to be looking to do is to start re-engaging with some of the people that we've been working with over the last 5 years, and possibly have some of those people on the podcast.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that would be great. And you guys tune into that for sure. And we honestly, there's going to be some different structures on the Sunday show as well, coming in the next couple of weeks. And I think you guys are going to like it. It's going to be a little bit more lighthearted and just fun, but also encouraging you guys to be engaged in the show and giving us feedback and talking. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Without further ado, let's do that conflict question.
Okay. And my busy season is started. So I don't know when I'm going to be here.
Boo. We need our Mad Bomber.
Sorry, guys. I don't know. Look, man, blowing stuff up pays the bills. So,
Blowing stuff up, not blowing. Right. I mean, we're in the Army, not the Navy, though. So.
Well, I mean, EOD is a Navy program. It's,
Oh,
don't be judgy.
You don't have your name on the back of your dungaree pants, do you?
I don't have dungaree pants.
Okay, well then we're good. So
I don't have pants.
And on that note,
hey, but the biggest thing for everybody out there in the audience, why haven't you hit that big like button? Mash that like button.
Yes.
Come on. We got a whole bunch of people that ain't hit the like button. Like,
hit
subscribe,
the mash button.
Do all the things. Button. Yeah, mash that. Anyway, okay.
The thing.
Yeah, do the things and the stuff and the things that pay our bills. Oh wait, none of this pays our bills, or none of this pays anybody's bills.
It's true. No.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to go ahead and throw out the conflicted question of the day. We want to hear from all of you in the audience. Go ahead, hit those chats. We want to hear your answers in there. Don't hold back. Put them in there. And if you're one of our insiders, we want to hear them here, and we want you guys to discuss this in the insider chat. All right. So get busy. So in the event of a prolonged regional collapse, look, I can read, John. Say a combination
fundamental.
Say a combination of a severe earthquake and a subsequent grid failure lasting months. How would you secure and sustain your family's food supply, medical needs, and physical safety, while also managing potential threats from desperate neighbors or looters, all without reliable access to emergency services or modern communication networks? This scenario layers multiple challenges: resource scarcity, self-defense, medical self-reliance, and social dynamics under stress. How would you approach it? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Okay, this is with a multi-layered issue like this. You have to prepare ahead of time for these kinds of things. This is what we were just talking about. Mike was just talking about continuing your preps. Even actually, I'm going to use an analogy out of the Bible. When Joseph was moved to Egypt and ended up being the basically assistant to the king of Egypt, to the Pharaoh, he was put in charge of storing up the excess grain in the 7 years that they had plenty. And that got them through, and the world through, the 7 years that followed, which was a 7 years of famine. That principle is true of everything that we do as preppers. We don't prep when the bad stuff comes. We don't prep in the bad times. You do to a certain extent. Yes, you continue, but you really want to focus when things are better, when things are good, when you can get a hold of things easier. That is the time to up your game as far as your prepping. And so you have to have a multifaceted approach. You have to have a system in in place so that you can understand. I have a FIFO system on mine. And if you guys don't know what a FIFO system is, that's first in, first out. So I rotate all of my food. When we can new food, I put the oldest in front, so we use it first. And my ammunition's the same way. I use the oldest ammunition first. Medical supplies, I'm constantly checking. I have little kids, so we have bumps and scrapes, so we're constantly digging into first aid kits. So you have to have a system for tracking that. And there are some great ways to do it. There are multiple ways to do it, but have a system in place, because that's the only way you're going to get through a situation like this. S2?
Okay, it's my turn now. So first off and foremost, have a network that is nearby you, because Rambo ain't going to get it. And this is the way you're going to have to secure. When we talk about security, this is how this happens. Is obviously, if you've prepped beforehand, you have some supplies on hand. But let's say that you have enough food for you, but your neighbors don't have enough food. So you've got some extra food set aside, and then you also have your seed bank set aside that you could actually go out and grow food. That's a concept.
Mm-hmm.
So physical safety, obviously, you have a plan for that because you have your neighbors. You got to sleep sometime. You can't guard the house all by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
even with a dog. So as far as communications networks goes, I probably have nearly every form of communication under the sun that's being talked about right now. So I'm good to go where that's concerned. I can go out there on ham HF. I can go out there on GMRS. I've even got network nodes set up for Meshtastic that I could go spread around and have communications for up to 15 miles. So I've got all of that.
Yep.
Medical self-reliance, that's something that's always ongoing. There was one of the things that I took a look at really hard 5 years ago and said, you know what? There's two things out there that people never think about. They never think about medical, and they never think about hygiene.
Yeah.
So I have been on this kick here for the last 3 years that, just like coffee, I stockpile coffee. I stockpile hygiene items, and even down to the point of where we're stocking household cleaning items. Um, and we've got enough right now that I dare say that if the world went to shit tomorrow, we've got enough for 2 years. So, but that's not
awesome.
all for us. That's not all for us. That's being able to share some of this with the less fortunate neighbors that didn't have the forethought. So,
Yep. Let me add one more thing, Mike, before you go. And this is I think a key too, is when you have, some of us have younger children. I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and I have started having those conversations with my 12-year-old. We'll be sitting at a restaurant, and I'll say, okay, somebody walks in with a gun, intent to hurt somebody. What's your first move? What are you supposed to do in these situations? And I give him different scenarios. I give him different scenarios for in our house. If there's a fire, if somebody breaks into our house, what are you supposed to do? These are conversations that we need to have in a serious manner with our families, with our kids as they're old enough. And as a parent, when your kid's old enough to have these kind of conversations, but that's an important aspect of it as well. Also, neighbors. Build a good relationship with your neighbors that are closely like-minded to you. And that's how you survive these things. Turn it back over to you, Mike.
I'm just going to add onto what you just said there, John. The unequally yoked family of preppers will fail. Absolutely. Yeah. When one person is doing the prepping and the other person is just like, okay, that's just your hobby, you go on ahead and do it. You ain't gonna make it.
Yep.
It's just not going to happen. You got to be a team.
Is going to be dead weight.
You as a family have to be a team. Also, the big thing that I scream this to the high heavens, and you guys have heard it a billion times, and you're probably going to roll your eyes when I say it, but possession does not equate proficiency. I don't care how many preps you have. If you have no skills to go with those preps, you're dead weight.
Yep.
You are nothing but a loot drop waiting for somebody else. That's it. somebody's going to take those preps away from you.
Yep.
If you are not training means everything. And it doesn't just mean you. It means you. It means your neighbors. It means your family. It means your kids, your grandkids, whatever. Okay. Make it fun.
Yep.
But do something bloody.
Ham radio is not fun.
Okay, I think we can all agree that ham radio is not fun under any circumstance.
Seconded.
But and if you look back at if you look back at the lessons that that Selko threw out after his time in Sarajevo during the siege there, what was the first delineator that he had for people that survived? The people that organized the fastest were the ones that survived. Okay, so now you have an opportunity, right? Get your neighbors, get on a good standing with your neighbors, get some of your neighbors prepping. All right, I've got people scattered out all over northern Alabama and a little bit of Tennessee that we're all together in this. Okay, we have multiple fallback locations. We're writing contingency plans. Contingency plans are just ludicrous, but you know what? They can just be scribbled on a bar napkin. Hey, what are you going to do? I'm going to go there.
Yep.
All right. Bottom line, fine. But guess what? If you have plans and your spouse doesn't know what those plans are and you're out of town, what do you got? You got nothing, right? All the plans, all the preps, all that cool stuff. It's like having a home invasion happening, right? All your guns are locked in the safe and your spouse doesn't know how to get to any of the guns. How's that going to go? It's going to go downhill. And also, I also have to throw a quick Benny here at Red Eye Jim. We need more bacon.
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Without bacon, we all perish.
What's the sense? What's the sense in being here without the bacon?
Bacon and coffee. I mean, if you don't have that, people are dying.
Oh, yeah.
They're dying.
I'm not responsible for my actions. I got plenty of eggs. I got chickens, man.
Mike, there's one thing there's one thing you're not allowed to ever say again. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
I'm sending a particular meme to you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for your input. And as I did on Sunday, and this is the way I'm going to close all my shows, I'm a deep man of faith, and I'm going to just pray us out, and then we'll sign off. Okay. So it's not your thing. You don't have to stick around, but I'm going to pray real quick, and then we're going to see the night away. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to bring this information to these people that are so attentive and ready to engage in these topics. Lord, I pray that you help us to give solid, truthful information, that you help us to delineate that correctly, and that you help us to be a part of the rebuilding of this country. I pray that you bless our efforts, and that you give us strength and knowledge and the intestinal fortitude to stand against the evil in the world and to stand up for truth and righteousness. I pray as we go about our daily lives, all of our audience and us would keep in mind who is in control, and that we would constantly remind ourselves of that. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys for joining us again, and we'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Chris will be hosting tomorrow, and we'll have a fantastic show as usual for you guys. So until then, like, share, subscribe, be safe, be prepared. God bless America.
God bless America.
The man was grossly incompetent. Take a look at he signs by auto pen.
Audience to the left and audience to the right. Criminal hoops on hey. President Trump, you see it
Everything was signed by auto pen. Almost everything.
Hundreds of felons lining up thinking that all their plans will never be honest. You gotta pay much more. You know how it is. Nobody presidency is about to be undone. Oh, John, the very best way time for your son. You're so busted. We're coming for you.